Hey, family tech man, how's your spirit? Talk to me. Tell me something good. We got a humdinger tonight. Um, the reason why it's a humdinger is because it's a taboo word, racism. But the reason why I came up with this is because I came up over came went through something today to whereas you know uh my platform is called TACC. Through adversity come change. This is the platform right here. TACC, through adversity come change on Amazon, and the workbook is also on Amazon. Um, but um, and what happened is I realized that racism is one of the things that is part of a bigger thing that keeps us stuck, that keeps us from healing, because racism has nothing in it that has God involved. Like I tell you, pride, ego. Ego is easing God out. Racism has ego, and ego eases God out. So it's going to be a good program tonight. You know, um, Sit back and enjoy yourself. It's going to be thought provoking, which is like they said there's no racism in America, which is a lie. America was founded on racism. Um, and with racism, we wasn't able to heal. It wasn't until after we were freed that we were able to start to heal. So it plays a major part. And I'm gonna get into it, and I guarantee you'll look at it differently, because it's not about talking about racism, like that. It's about showing people what these things do, and why we shouldn't feed into these things, because it's not good. It says barriers to healing: how racism blocks recovery, and why adversity is often required for real change. And in life, like I said, it's only through adversity change takes place. You know, um, Name one thing that we go through that adversity doesn't play a part in. In life, period. But like I said, and I pray that people don't take this the wrong way, because it's not about the act of racism. It's the act of what racism does and how it stops. So I'm gonna give you 50 examples, and you let me know if you think what I'm saying is correct. Here we go. One, intergenerational trauma from slavery and segregation, passed down stress responses, disturbed family bonds, and mental health, preventing healing. Adversity eventually fueled the civil rights movement, forcing systematic change. Now you see how racism and slavery and all that stopped people from healing, mental, spiritual, physical, however. And this is why eradicating racism has to be a priority once the next people who take over the government come in office. It's a major thing that needs to be dealt with. It's the first sin of America that has not been addressed. Number two, redlining and housing discrimination created concentrated poverty that limited access to quality health care and nutrition, worsening physical and mental wounds. Community organizing against it sparked fair housing laws and local re- revitaliz- revitalization efforts. This is what racism does. Three, unequal access to healthcare. Bias is a medical system leads to misdiagnosis or the treatment of pain, deepening distrust and unhealed conditions. This adversity has pushed for diversity in medical training and patient advocacy groups. I tell you, I'm dyslexic, so forgive me. Number four, which is what racism does to stop you from healing. Mass incarceration of minorities breaks down families, increases PTSD, and reduces economic stability, blocking recovery. Reform movements born from this have driven sentencing changes and reentry programs. You see how racism plays into everything that has been done in this country. And a lot of people don't want to say it or face it, but it's the truth. Like I said, this is a platform to help people to heal, help people to grow, help people to win, help people to make change in their life. But we must be able to say the truth, even though it might not be what people want to hear. But the truth is the truth, and the truth stands alone, and the truth needs no support. And this is what we got to get accustomed to, the truth, because man, this administration lies so much that people believe it, and then they don't believe the truth. So now it's time to get people to believe in the truth. Number five, environmental racism, like toxic waste sites in minority neighborhoods, causes chronic illnesses that are harder to treat due to poverty. This has galvanized community lawsuits and stronger EPA oversight in those areas. And like I tell you, it's so many layers to the things that these people have done, and it's all done out of maliciousness. And this is why it's hard for people to heal when they're going up against a machine that's so strong and maniacal and evil. you know we have to learn that we have to get away from that and get to something positive that helps us to heal, change, make life better for each and every one of us. It's not about just one, it's about everyone. Educational disparities for underfunded schools limits future opportunities, creating cycles of stress that hinder healing. Adversity adversity here has fueled charter movements, affirmative action, and ongoing equity reforms. And it's only through adversity that these changes were taking place. And like I was excuse me. I was watching Dr. Umar, and he was saying thank Trump. And the dude didn't understand. He said, "No, thank him for showing us how they really feel about us. Thank him for giving them permission to call us or treat us the way that they really wanted to do." And see, this is only through adversity that change takes place. We had to go through this to see this. It's just like if Kamala Harris would have won, we wouldn't have seen none of this. We wouldn't have seen how corrupt our government is, how emboldened our politicians are to Israel and other countries and different companies and everything. So we had to go through this in order for us to be able to understand life for what it really is. And it is what it is. And life will still go on. It's just what it is. Police brutality and over policing generates constant fear and trauma, raising cortisol levels that damage long term health. This sparks nationwide protests that led to some policy shifts and body cam requirements. And this is another way of uh, enforcing racism against us. Police. Why do most people fear police? And that's not what they're there for. They're there to protect us, but most people fear them. Why? Because you let the racist people who lost the Civil War get these positions, and the leopard don't change their stripes. And this is what it is. You have to understand that the devil is real. Whether you believe it or not, he's real. And he plays a hell of a game. And what you got to understand is you got to know how to play the game better than him. Because while we sleep, he doing pull-ups, push-ups, and squats. So we got to be that much better. But racism is part of his plan to destroy us so that we go to the hellfire instead of go to the paradise. And one thing I'm gonna leave that alone. 8, wage gaps and employment discrimination. Chronic financial stress prevents focus on healing or self-care. It's driven union organizing, civil rights employment lawsuits, and diversity hiring initiatives that made these things change. But it's still there in 2026. Racism is alive. And the crazy part about it, it's at the highest level of government that's perpetuating it. And it's sad because he's picking America's pockets at the same time, but he's playing on their ego of their racist bias against people of color. And this is how, like I said, this is how they win and we lose because they united, we divided.
Hello, this is Accessorize. To hear this message in English, press 1. We're calling for customer number 146.
And the beautiful thing about it, people are waking up, and we just have to keep pushing, keep striving. Of course, things are going to change, man. We have to understand that nothing stays the same. Nothing stays the same. Even though we're going through all of these racial bias and all the different levels of discrimination that we have to go through, we strive, we still come out on top. Just what we is who we are. Media stereotypes and cultural erosion damages self-worth and identity, making emotional healing harder. This has led to greater representation efforts, diverse storytelling, and cultural pride movements. Like I said, through adversity, change takes place. Voter suppression, targeting minorities, limits political voice, leaving communities feeling powerless to fix systematic harms. It inspires voting rights campaign, legal challenges, and higher turnout in key elections. And this is what's going on now. And this is what's going on right now. Number 11, food deserts in minority neighborhoods. Poor nutrition leads to higher rates of chronic disease, slowing physical recovery. This has driven urban farming initiatives and local food justice movements. We're going to always figure a way. Cultural appropriation and erosion undermines identity. Okay, I just read that one. Uh, Microaggressions in daily life. Constant small stresses accumulate into serious mental health issues. This awareness have fueled workplace sensitivity training and allyship programs, allyship programs, rather I say. Number 14, discriminatory lending practices blocks wealth building, creating financial stress that hinders healing. It led to fair lending laws that community development financial institutions. See, everything that they throw at us, we have to fight to get it, but it stops us from healing. This is why we're talking about this. This is about healing. We can't heal a lot of time. And I was asking myself, I said, damn, this program is a beautiful program. It's a spiritual program for difficult people to help them to heal. And it's hard for people to come in. And I'm wondering why. And this is another one of the examples. I've been showing you different examples why people don't want to heal. This is another example. And this is the root of a lot of it, because this goes back to the beginning where all our stress started at, you know. And this is what life is, you know, showing us about what's going on. And you just have to pay attention. Number 15, racial profiling in everyday encounters creates hypervigilance and anxiety, preventing calm and recovery. This has driven community policing reform and bias training. 16, underrepresentation in leadership roles limits role models and systematic change, stalling collective healing. It inspires mentorship programs and diversity leadership initiatives. And see, like, what we have to understand is when you don't have role models other than the dope boy or the pimp or the number man or whatever, it's hard for you to see a way out. And this is why in their communities they have all of these different things. But now we do too. But it's still harder for us, because with all of the different things that I was just telling you, redlining and discrimination and policing and I mean, and the list goes on. I still got a lot more to give you. But and still, no matter what, we still thrive. This lets you know we are people who will not be denied, but we have to come together. We have to heal first, learn the lies from the truth, and help everyone accept, achieve, appreciate love. And man, life will be so much better because now we have a common goal and we work towards it together. This is another racist thing that they implement. Beauty standards favoring Eurocentric features damages self-esteem, blocking emotional healing. It sparks natural hair movement and diverse representation in the media. But look, most girls have fake hair, fake eyelashes, fake all kinds of, you know, they doing all kinds of things to look like that. And this is a part of racism. It's a mental thing that makes our women think that they're not good enough. When our women are some of the most beautiful women on the planet, if not the most beautiful women on the planet. All of these things play a part, and they're so subtle that you don't even see it. But what's behind it is what's the problem, because the way they brung it about was evil. Um, Historical erasure in education, like they're trying to stop teaching Black history. It's crazy. Prevents understanding and closure from past harms. This has fueled curriculum reform efforts in ethnic studies programs, but they're still trying to do it right now. And one of the things, we need to do is sad is we need to learn to be able to homeschool our kids, you know, and it would be different. And now with the internet and the AI, it shouldn't be no problem with teaching. Anything you need to know about, you come on this right here, and it's a computer. It could tell you anything you want to know. But that's how they do it. They erase our culture. They don't want people to know we are the original because then their lie of all the great things that they said they've done will be disband. So, it is what it is. To the victory go the spoils. The winner tells his story. That's why it's called his story. It's not called the truth. Gentrification, replacing communities, breaking social support networks crucial for healing. It's driven tenants right. It's driven tenant rights movements and community land trusts. This is just some of the ways that they go about it to stop us from being able to heal. See, because they know if we heal and we find out who we really are and start to do the things that we really supposed to do, they know it's over. This is why they have to have so many different layers of things that they do against us to keep us from being able to really focus our attention on us. It's about everything else. They give us the commercials, all these cars and this, that, and that. They make you want to do this. But look how other ethnic groups, they'll come 8, 10 in an apartment. They'll stack their bread, get businesses, and then they'll pass the business on and everybody eats. This is what we have to start doing. We're the most hated people on this earth, and we're the most loving people on this earth. Go figure. The workplace discrimination and glass ceilings, meaning that we only can go so far. Chronic job stress raises inflammation, worsens health. It fueled corporate diversity programs and equal pay lawsuits. It's another way of racism stops us from healing because if you're stressing about your money, you're not going to be able to heal. Racial bias is a judicial in the judicial system. Let me say that again. Racial bias in the judicial system. Wrongful convictions destroy lives and trust, blocking healing. This has driven innocence programs and sentencing reform. These are not things that I'm just saying. These are things that have been implemented to help us, to hurt us, stop us from growing, stop us from healing, stop us from being who we are really meant to be, who we really are. See, they know who we are. And this is why they do all the things that they do, because they know that if we ever come of consciousness and come together, it's a done deal. Why do you think we accelerate or excel in everything that we get into? Put us in anything against anyone, and we're going to master it. It's because who we are. That's who we really are. Our greatness is in everything. But like I said, we've lost our way some kind of way, and God is making us learn a lesson. I don't even say punish us because He does nothing to hurt us. He shows us direction. We punish ourselves, but we have to go through it to get to it. It's only through adversity change takes place. Nothing good changes in happy times. It only changes in chaos. Look it up. Figure it out. Trust me. Limit access to mental health care in communities of color. Now check this out. All the different kind of things they did to us with the syphilis and other different things, and then they took the mental health from out of our communities, knowing that we is going to need that with the stuff that they're doing to us. This is how racial bias is so evil. It's nothing good about it. And this is what we have to understand. It's an evil thing, and we can never fall victim to it. Because if we fall victim, we are no different from them than they are. We're no different from them than just like them. We just like them. Four, sports and athletic exploitation. Black bodies celebrated on the field, discarded after, creates identity ties to physio, let me see, physicalities that hard to heal from. Sparked athlete, man, my words is crazy tonight. Let me start from the beginning. Sports and athletic exploitation. Black bodies celebrated on the field, discarded after, creates identity ties to physicalities that hard to heal from. Sparked athletic activism, and NIL rights. It was like the boxers back in the day. They had to go through the back. And it's so crazy that people want to go back to those evil times. But that's just how people are. Even the angels asked God, said, why will you create more people who will create destruction and shed blood? Well, God said, I know what you know not. And that's why we're here. Colorism within and outside of communities. Internal hierarchy damage self-worth across generation. It's birthing skin tone awareness campaigns and inclusive beauty lines. Immigration policies targeting certain racial groups. Family separation cause deep attachment trauma. This has mobilized immigrant rights movement and sanctuary policies. All of these things they do is to stop us from healing, stop us from doing the right thing, stop us from figuring out who we really are. And they're that afraid of that because they really know who we are. And like I tell you, I'm at peace and I'm healed to an extent. I know who we are to an extent, but they really know who we are. So imagine if a bunch of us strong people come together knowing what they know. They know it's just a matter of time. So we just have to keep striving and can't give up. That's it. Racial bullying in school. Early trauma affects brain development and learning. It leads to anti-bullying programs that diversity curriculum. Racism, why it stops us from healing. Targeting marketing and unhealthy products to communities of color. Higher disease rates for pre- predatory institutions spark community health advocacy and lawsuits against those companies. Historical medical experimentation without consent, like Tuskegee, like I was saying earlier, created deep distrust that still blocks healthcare access. It improves ethics, oversight, and community health partners. But look, COVID, we still testing, but now they just testing the world. They've gotten so bad to they don't even care. It's us, but it's everyone who's not them. And you have to understand, man, these people are very, very, very diabolical. They are. They do rituals, and that's another thing that you have to understand. When organizations do rituals, something wrong with that. But it is what it is. Over policing or minor infractions in minority neighborhoods. Constant legal stress keeps cortisone high, harming physical recovery. This has driven diversion programs and community oversight boards. This is the things that have to had come about through adversity. Change took place. Uh, Tokenism in workplaces and institutions. Being qualified and someone underqualified gets the job because they have the right complexion for the connection. Someone you may have trained that didn't know the job and still don't know the job. And then once they give them the job, they come to you to get you to do everything. And you were supposed to have that. It's just crazy. Imagine going home with that every day. How can you heal? It's impossible. Racial disparities in maternal mortality. Black women face higher risk during childbirth. How can you heal? Stereotype threat affecting performance and confidence. Chronic anxiety about confirming negative stereotypes drains mental energy needed for healing. Limited green spaces in urban minority communities reduces stress relief from nature, slowing recovery. And I know you're probably saying, what did that? No, these things play a major part in our peace. And once you understand that, why they take these things, the maliciousness behind why they do the things they do, then you'll have an understanding. I'll do a show on that too.
Here's 31 through 40. 31.
You know, cultural disconnection from ancestral healing practices. Loss of traditional knowledge weakens resilience. If you don't know where you come from, how can you know where you're going? And they do it on purpose. Over sexualization or desexualization based on race distorts body images and relationship, complicating intimate healing. See, it's all different ways that we have to heal, and they have something to combat it. What a lot of people don't understand is that these people have 100-year think tanks where they have people in there. All they do is smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, and think of ways to keep them in power. And keeping them in power is keeping everyone else down. You have to understand that these people know what they're doing, and they're so afraid of who we really are that is mind blowing because they go out of their way to do certain things to us, and then we come back and we wind up proving whatever they said is wrong because we have love in our heart. Neighborhood violence rooted in systematic poverty. creates PTSD like symptoms that are hard to treat, that keeps you from healing. And while we have the violence in the neighborhoods and the poverty plays a major part, everything that we go through, they've systematically made it happen. And this is what you have to understand, and they look at us as less than humans, but that's life. Lack of racial diversity in yoga and wellness spaces, healing practice practically feels inclusionary. We need all these different things that help us to meditate, heal, but they squeeze us out. Political polarization using race as a wedge keeps communities divided instead of healing together. All of this is a part of their plan. Erosion of positive historical contributions by people of color lowers collective pride needed for resilience. When I say they come at us in every angle, discriminatory zoning laws still affecting housing patterns, maintain segregation that limits opportunity and healing. See why healing is the major thing here. All of this stuff stops you from healing. This is about 50 examples. It shows countless ways systematic racism quietly blocks people from healing physically, mentally, and emotionally, as well as spiritually. The pattern is clear. Without facing adversity head on, real change rarely happens. The key is learning to see these barriers clearly so we can finally move through them, break the cycle, and create meaningful, lasting change. Healing doesn't come easy, but recognizing these obstacles is the first real step. And see, this is why I say what I say about how these people have barriers. They have levels of barriers that they've put in front of us to make it hard for us to be able to live, to come up, to do anything in life. But the thing is, this is what we have to do. We have to heal. We have to come together, and we have to do the right thing. We can't worry about them. No question. Love is love. Uh, yeah. So this is how racism ties into how it's hard for us to heal. This is another barrier in why people are afraid to heal, why people uh, are scared to heal. It's so many different things that uh, we have to go through as a people, and people expect us not to have feelings, when they putting us through hell. But we're human, and this is why we have to heal, learn the lies from the truth, come together and build our own. It's not about nobody else. It's about us. It's about us coming together, doing the right thing for ourselves. But we've been taught as a people to hate ourselves. This is part of the racism too. They taught us to hate our own self, and that's sad. But the beautiful thing about it, anything that's learned can be unlearned or expounded on, so that we live better and do better. But it's about us healing, learning lies from the truth, coming together with one common cause and doing the right thing. Period. And like I tell you, I know it's going to be difficult for me to make this platform blow up for the simple fact it's positive. You know, even though we're showing the negative that's in the positive, and the negative that makes the positive, but it's a positive platform. So it's going to be harder to make it grow. But we just got to keep at it, and like I said, I'm here every day because this not only helps you, it helps me. And I've been learning, like, my words been getting kind of twisted, you know. So with me doing this every day, it will help me to build my vocabulary as well as help my speech. Because like I tell you, I'm dyslexic, and then I smoke a lot of weed, so that plays a part as well. But yeah, I just want to give y'all some good insights on life, man. And let y'all see, man, that we need to heal. We need to come together. We need to get it right. And the only way we're gonna do that is together. My thing is, united we stand, divided we fall. Let's come together, get it right. If nobody tell you they love you today, I'm telling you. And just, man, get your spirit right with the Most High. Tack man out. Peace. Y'all have a blessed night.